As I was saying, for this study, researchers used two forms of statistical analysis. The first one is propensity score. So let's remember that this study was a cohort study, so it was an observation study. There was no randomization involved. Therefore, with propensity score, the researcher was able to design and analyze that observation study so that it mimics some of the particular characteristics that you would find in a randomized controlled trial. The other statistical analysis used was Cox proportional method of hazard. And this compared the different hazards that were caused either by having readmissions with schizophrenia if you were in that matched drug cohort, or the population proxy control group that were part of the methamphetamine drug group. The results showed that the cohorts who had methamphetamine or other type of drug use had a significantly greater risk of readmission with a schizophrenia group. The population proxies generated results that demonstrated that in each drug group there was an elevated risk of schizophrenia. They had similar patterns of statistical significance and overlapping 95% confidence intervals for the corresponding hazard ratios. So, there was a lot of similarity between the different types of drug abuse, whether it was methamphetamine or cocaine or alcohol. But however, regardless, if you were another type of drug abuser, if you were an abuser of methamphetamine, then you had the greatest risk of readmission with schizophrenia. So if you were an abuser of meth and your buddy was an abuser of cocaine, it was more likely that you, the abuser of methamphetamine, would have a greater risk of being readmitted to the hospital and have a schizophrenia diagnosis. So, to conclude, the researchers argued that significant use of any drug of abuse can lead to the development of a persistent psychosis. And, the psychosis can be similar to what schizophrenia patients experience. Drugs of abuse can also cause brain structural abnormalities, which increase the risk of schizophrenia in individuals that are genetically susceptible to it. So if it runs in your family and you use drug abuse, that could affect your brain and lead to schizophrenia. I personally agree with the conclusions made by the investigators because methamphetamine is a very hard substance that can have detrimental effects on the human physiology. It is a drug that becomes addictive, and after ongoing use, it can lead to the development of psychosis and schizophrenia. So, some of the bias in the study is that schizophrenia can be very difficult to diagnose, and someone can go with it for a long time and not even be aware of it. And this also could be affected by, if you're a drug user, it's affecting the way you feel. Is it the drugs, or do you have schizophrenia? Another thing was that individuals were separated according to the drug of abuse. However, individuals that abused multiple drugs were actually excluded from participating in the study. And they should not have excluded the individuals that consumed multiple drugs because that just could have been a different group for comparison. Maybe the group who abused methamphetamine, cocaine, and alcohol had an even greater risk of developing that schizophrenia like psychosis as opposed to just someone who just did methamphetamine. It would be a great thing to add to the study. So, these findings were applicable to the population that the researchers were concerned about. They divided them by sex, age, ethnicity, and substance abuse. So, it was good to see that difference, how it affected, you can be a male, a young female, or an old male, and you can still get schizophrenia.